I'm Patrick Herring, and I am the principal percussionist of the Allen Philharmonic. I'm going to talk today about flams and drags. Both of these are essential snare drum rudiments, and they're something we need to have in our repertoire. So, a flam is a grace note tied to a regular note. This is a series of eighth note alternating flams. You can tell that by the sticking left, right, left, right. To play it, you simply play your hands almost together, but a little bit apart at different heights. Couple of key things to think about while we're doing this. Your hand that's playing the regular note, be it a quarter note, eighth note, etc., is a normal legato stroke at whatever height it is. For example, if you're playing forte, that's probably about there. That's a piano, etc. Your hand that's playing the grace note is going to be a low height. And it's going to be a low height regardless of how loud the note is. It's always this low, about an inch from the head, drop. My left hand stays the same. Now the other important thing to know, and this is really about soft playing in general on snare drum, the softer or lower you are, because height equals volume, the lower you are, the more tension you actually have in your hands. Not a huge amount, you don't want to squeeze the stick, you can't get blood from a stick, but if I'm playing quietly, I have to put more force into it to make sure that rebound happens. Whereas if I'm playing loudly, I want to make sure my hands are almost not on the stick. If I'm playing this, like this, if this drum were not muffled, this would be an incredibly loud snare drum. So I'm really trying to take as much of my fingers off the stick as possible. And as you get softer, everything tightens up. Almost the fact when I'm playing pianissimo, I am almost playing with arm motion. Now, that leads us into our next item, which is drags. Now, drags are very similar to a flam, except instead of one grace note, there are two. Here's a bunch of alternating quarter note drags. Okay? The hand playing the quarter note does the same thing as it does with the flam. It's a normal legato stroke. The playing the grace notes, however, is not playing a legato stroke anymore. So it doesn't come from the wrist. It is playing a very small double stroke roll. The important thing to remember about all rolls, double stroked, buzz, closed, whatever you want to call it, comes from the wrist. I'm sorry, I apologize. Does not come from the wrist, comes from the elbow. Okay? Wrist does not move. So my hand is very loose, everything very flexible, and I'm pushing and pulling into the head. So that bounce comes from this part. Then you put the two together. Now, the other thing you will see is, in a drag, that grace note is written as 16th notes. Any other instrument would interpret that as 16th notes, depending on tempo. So we have to think about that when we're interpreting, when we see that, how open or closed do we want to play that? 1 E end to 2 E end to 1 E end. 1 E end. Or very fast tempo. But if I'm playing with trumpets, we're going da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, I can't play. It's not going to fit. Okay? So I have to think about what that is. Now, also the same way you might have just noticed with drags, just like flams, volume is determined by the note playing the quarter note, the hand playing the quarter note. There's a little change in height with the grace notes, but not nearly as much as is over here. Same with double stroke rolls. You don't really get very high with rolls. You just tend to lose control if you do. So, to sum up, flams, 2 strokes, a short tight stroke, loud stroke, and drags, short double stroke roll, and an accent. Thank you very much.